everyone, welcome to another video. It's been a little while, but I've been excited to start this new series with you, and it will be, I think I'm going to call it Side Hustle Reviews, where I review different side incomes and potential kind of freelancey things you can do to earn money online. So today we'll be talking about a popular, very popular, because they spend a lot of money on advertising, English teaching platform called Cambly. So I'll tell you a bit about it. I will be reviewing the pros and the cons, whether or not this platform can replace your 9-to-5 income. And yeah, so just generally talking about it, talking about what's good, what I don't like, how much they pay, etc. So if you don't know what Cambly is, it's a platform where you basically teach English. You don't need any prior experience, which is great, or even qualifications. You don't need, a lot of people are shocked, and so was I, when I tell them that you don't need to speak a second language. People kind of think, how can you teach English without speaking a second language? But they encourage you to only speak in English, which is great. So you're basically getting paid to speak to people in your own language, which is very, I wouldn't say easy, but it doesn't require a lot of background in teaching or anything like that, which is great. So you can teach at any time of the day and from anywhere in the world. All you need is a laptop and internet connection. There is Cambly, and then there's Cambly Kids. I've only taught on Cambly, which is for adults, so that's what I'll be speaking about today. So now I'll be going into how it works. Cambly works in pretty much two ways for teachers. To work. So the first way is through priority hours, which are slots you can book about 2 weeks in advance, and they're depending on the weekends, you can pretty much get every hour of the day. On the weekdays, they are more limited. It kind of just depends on the demand, but you can get at least 5 to about 7 hours a day of priority hours if you do book in advance, and people drop them and you can pick them up. So there is quite a lot of priority hours depending on when you're available. If you're available all the time, there will be a lot of hours to take. I have found when you're not using priority hours, which is the other way to teach, and you kind of just go online and students can call you kind of whenever, you get a lot less calls than when you're on priority hours. So realistically, to make any kind of substantial money, I believe you do need to have priority hours. So the good thing about priority hours is that, one, they kind of guarantee you at least, I usually get at least about half an hour's worth of calls every hour. And they do pay you what you can kind of call a safety net wage if nobody calls you. I think for a standard priority hour, it's not much. It's about 25% of the pay. So I think it amounts to about $2.50. But then on the weekend, I think they have half an hour they pay you for if nobody calls you, which is kind of great because you can get paid $5 for doing nothing. But that's never happened. There's always someone that calls, which is good because it's good. It means that it's busy. It's a busy platform. It means there is money to be made. So yeah. So I'll talk about now the way the lessons work. So they work in kind of two main ways I've found. Obviously, you're speaking to all different kinds of people, different personalities, different ages. So lessons won't look exactly the same. But if I can put them into two categories, I'd say most people on here, maybe 60% or so, from my experience, would rather just have a casual conversation. They'd rather just talk, just have small talk, get to know each other, which is fine. And then the other half would like to kind of have a lesson. Cambly's got hundreds of lessons with all different levels, all different topics. Some people have exams they're preparing for, English speaking tests and stuff. They'd like to do mock tests. So that's the other way. So it's usually either casual conversation or an actual lesson, which is built in on Cambly. Now let's talk about the bit that we all care about the most, and the reason I'm sure you're watching the video, and that is the pay. So I'll just be honest with you, the pay is not great. If you live in a country where the dollar is worth a lot, maybe it's not that bad. I live in the UK. The pay rate I think is $10.20 an hour, which amounts to just over £8, which is below our minimum wage. But it's online, you can work from anywhere in the world, and you pretty much need no qualifications. So the pay rate itself, I don't think it's that bad. I don't think £8 an hour to work from your laptop is not that bad. However, it's very rare to get the £8 an hour. You're more likely to get, to be honest with you, £5 or $6 an hour, really, on average. Only because you get paid $10 for an hour's worth of calls, but the chances of getting an hour's worth of calls are very low in an hour time slot anyway. So if you're on a priority hour between 12, for example, 1 p.m, you're likely to get maybe half an hour of calls, or half an hour and a 15-minute call. And that's much more likely than to get an hour call. So to have it as a full-time job, I think is pretty much impossible. So like to have it as a full-time job, you need, I don't know, maybe you only get a 5-minute break per hour. So you'd have to kind of not have no break, do 4 hours, then maybe an hour break and another 4 hours, and then somehow manage to get an hour call for each slot. And that's just not possible in my experience. I don't know what you'd have to do to organize that. To get that many regular students all needing hour lessons would pretty much be impossible. So you can't make a full-time wage on this. However, the pay isn't that bad. I think the average I've made is about $5 to $7 an hour. However, you're not actually working for those full hours, so you can do a lot of other things while you work on Cambly. So the pay itself isn't great, but if you combine it with, for example, I had another job, because I don't want to get in trouble, I can't say exactly what it is, but I used to do Cambly at the exact same time as my other job. I'd have one tab with my job, second tab with Cambly. When a student called, my job was very flexible, so I could take a little break. It was quite a bit of hassle. I had to pray my managers didn't call me while I was on Cambly, but it never happened. My job was pretty relaxed, so I managed to make upwards of £20 an hour, about $25 an hour, by having 2 jobs, one of them being Cambly. So if you don't have that though, you can use that time in between calls to research, to apply for jobs, depending on what your situation is. And if you're saying in a country like, I've been to Thailand, so that's the only example I can really give, things are so cheap. I've heard there's other cheap places in the world where the dollar is worth a lot more than the local currency. So to be honest, if you was in Thailand, you could probably live a very, very good life with the Cambly wage. I'm averaging, if I've tried to do it full time a few weeks, I'm averaging about between $150 to $200 by kind of being online a lot. I get a lot of extra work done while just having Cambly on in the background. But on full time, I think the most I've ever made is over $200, maybe about $230 a week, which isn't bad. If you was in Thailand, like I said, that would be an amazing wage. If you had that with another job, that would still be a good wage. So most jobs, for example, I don't know, in England pay £400 an hour. £400 a week. So if you had Cambly as well, that could be an extra £100, £150 a week. That adds up and is definitely a good income. So it all depends on your situation. It can't replace your 9-to-5 job. However, the pay isn't that bad and there's still money to be made. So now I'll be talking about the pros and cons. I'll start with the cons because I like to get the negative things out of the way first. So we just spoke about the pay. So yeah, it's not great. There's no option to tip, which might sound a bit weird. However, I've realized there's a lot of people that do really enjoy your lessons. And I really think that if given the option, they probably would give you a bit extra. I would never obviously ask for a tip, but I think if there was a built-in way in the platform, I've spoke to a few tutors and we all agree that would be a great addition to the platform. There are bonuses, but they're not great. I don't know if I spoke about bonuses in the pay bit, so I'll go through them now. Bonuses are usually, from my experience, so if you do, I think 4 hours on Sunday, you get a $12 bonus. And then, so that alternates with a different kind of bonus, which is if you do 4 hours Saturday and 4 hours Sunday, you'll get a $20 bonus. So if you're someone that likes to work weekends or doesn't mind, then yeah, that's it's a good bonus, to be honest with you. But they're not amazing. I think there could be more incentives for tutors, or even just different options to make more money on there. I think that's pretty much the only way you can increase your wage through those bonuses. So yeah, they're not that bad, but they're just not great. Another con is that students can cancel your reservations and even lessons with pretty much no repercussions. I've had a student reserve like 3 days in a row with me and not show up to one of them. If I did that, you get banned from reservations for like 2 weeks. So yeah, that is a con too. I've read forums, people say they care about the students more than the teachers. I don't know if I agree, but the fact that they can just kind of keep reserving your slots and never turning up, whereas you do get punished for it, that isn't great, to be honest. And it does kind of limit your earnings sometimes if you're relying on those students to turn up. But that's the cons out the way. So number one, it's very flexible. You can work from anywhere in the world at pretty much any time. So that's, I think, the best thing about it. Even though the pay isn't great, the fact that you can travel and work is amazing, really. Depending on what you want to do, you can double it up with a different job. I think the only people it's not really for is maybe if you work a 9-to-5 job. Realistically, you'd probably be too tired on the weekends to talk to people all day or anything. But I think it's perfect if you're a remote worker or you're someone that travels. I think then it really is a perfect thing to have. You won't get paid amazingly, but it's definitely good to have, because obviously, as we all know, if you're watching this channel and you're a freelancer or if you're self-employed, work comes and goes. Sometimes it's not guaranteed. So something like this is always good to have as a safety net, in my opinion. Second pro is that there's a very low barrier to entry, really. All you have to do is shoot a video, and if they like you, they'll hire you. I don't know anyone that's been rejected yet. I know people with uni degrees that have got hired, without uni degrees that have got hired, with teaching certificates, without teaching certificates. So it all really depends whether they like you or not on the video, but it's very low barrier to entry. Pretty much anyone that can speak English with a webcam and laptop, internet connection as well, of course, can do it. So yeah, low barrier to entry. That is another great pro for Cambly. And this is the best. So next, third pro is gonna be the best part about it for me, which I didn't really realize before I did it. I kind of thought it would be, when you think of teaching, you kind of think you're kind of sitting there, whiteboard or so, telling people what to say, which is like that sometimes. But really, you're just having conversations with people. And I'm somebody who is quite introverted, who kind of struggles to speak. I'm obviously with my friends, and I practice with videos. I'm getting a bit better. I can speak fine, but speaking to strangers is something that has always caused me a little bit of anxiety. But doing Cambly for 4 months has almost got rid of that completely. The teacher, I've spoke to, I think, over 500 different students now, and that's 500 conversations with different people all around the world. Some of them, so say maybe 40-30% of them, as a guess, would be a lesson, kind of just telling them what to say and stuff. But the other 60 or so percent is literally just conversations about things. So you're talking to people from all different ages, all different backgrounds, all different religions, all different countries. And it's really good to increase your communication skills, and as you're on camera too, it's great for things like this, recording videos of yourself, confidence in one-on-one conversations. And really that is invaluable and can translate into so many different things. So if you're looking for a new skill to develop, if you're looking to improve your speech and communication skills, it's also a fantastic way of doing that. So as you can see now, we'll be doing the final review of Cambly. So we kind of got different scores. I think we're going to try, for this series of, we're going to call it Side Hustles Reviews or something, we're going to keep the scores quite consistent, as in the categories for each score. So just to make it a bit more fun, these scores are just based on my own opinion. They're not really, they're not real scores. But for flexibility, we've given it an 8 out of 10. For potential earnings, a 6 out of 10. So anything above 5, we're going to put as green, as, I don't know, a pro, almost something that it's kind of worth it. So potential earnings, 6 out of 10. Barrier to entry, 9 out of 10, as in it's a very low barrier to entry. That is a bit confusing, 9 out of 10, but I think it just, as it's positive, it sounds better than 1 out of 10, for example. So barrier to entry, 9 out of 10, which means pretty much anyone can do it. Ability to replace 9-to-5 income. That is going to be the key stat in this series, as, to be honest with you, this is what this page is about mainly. I will do a bit of lifestyle stuff and tips about other things, but this page is mainly about, or should I say this channel, is mainly about helping people to create enough money through other means to stop their 9-to-5. If it's something they don't enjoy, if you enjoy your 9-to-5, obviously, keep it going. That's fantastic. So with Cambly, it's pretty much impossible to replace a 9-to-5 income, at least a full-time income, in the UK where I live. I'm sure if you lived in other countries, like I've been to Thailand, things there are so cheap that if you did it somewhere like that, you probably would be earning more than the average person there. But in the UK, I've done it for quite a while now, and to be honest, even if you did get, say, I don't know, 8 hours of calls booked today, or even 6, and it was hour-long calls, it would probably be too much. Talking to people for 6 hours straight for an hour, you don't really get any breaks. I didn't mention the breaks before, actually. We get 5 minutes per priority hour, which means if you wanted to get a full hour, it would basically be impossible, unless you didn't take breaks. So it's like, I guess you could work 4 hours, hour off, 4 hours, and if you had an hour lesson booked every time, I guess you could treat it like a 9 to 5. But I don't understand what you'd have to do to get 4 hours straight of calls, hour-long calls. Most students don't want hour-long calls. They want half an hour, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. You do get hours sometimes, but they are quite rare. So I don't really see a way that you can make this a full-time job, but doesn't mean you can't make money with it though. And it's definitely a great income to combine with other things. And if you don't have any income right now, it's definitely better than nothing. So we'll give the final score. So for the final score, we've just added up all of the different scores for different categories and got an average, which we've given it 6.75 out of 10. This is the first one of these we've done, so I'm kind of excited to see how other freelance or side hustle platforms, different things. I'm going to review all kinds of things. The only things I've actually tried, I remember this is just my opinion. I'm going to review things I've tried in the past and whether or not how much money I've made, if I could see a potential to replace an income with it. So these are kind of the different reasons I've given it the score. It is pretty good. So it's limited by low pay, but it's a great way to make money from anywhere in the world. It goes great alongside a remote job. It's flexible. You can work pretty much any time of the day, but you do have to put a lot of hours in to make a decent wage, which, depending on how much time you have, it's not that bad. And also communicating with people from different cultures. I've learned so. I thought I was knowledgeable about the world before this, but say a place like China where you can't really communicate with them because of different restrictions that they have in their country, it's great to really speak to them and just get a direct opinion about different things about the world, different things that are going on. It's an amazing way to learn about the world and different cultures. I've learned so much about different countries. The main people you'll be speaking to on here from my experience is Chinese people, and then people in the Middle East, I think, after that. But I've got pretty much someone from every continent at least once. So you learn so much about different people, and your communication skills definitely increase greatly by doing this. So I hope you enjoyed the video. That's pretty much an overview of the freelance platform Cambly. That is for English teaching. So yeah, there's many other English teaching platforms I've heard about. There's one called italki, Powfish. I haven't had any experience with them yet, but as soon as I do, I will review them too. I'd love to compare Cambly to some other teaching platforms. One thing I realized that I've actually not spoken about in this video is Cambly Kids. I have not done it personally, but they do pay slightly extra. So if you did want to make English teaching online a full-time job, maybe Cambly combined with Cambly Kids. They're two separate, they're the same company, but they're two separate platforms. And Cambly Kids pays I think $12 an hour. So maybe you could look into that. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you've used Cambly, if you have any experience with other teaching platforms, and let me know what kind of side hustles and things you'd like me to talk about next. So hope you enjoyed. Thank you and goodbye.